when you transition in life, in business, whatever it is that it may be, just know that the past thinking pattern, the past positioning may try and hold you back. If you don't want to be held back in life, you want to make sure you stay tuned to this episode of I Am and More presents the journey to more. You all know me. I am attorney Jamila Moore, the entrepreneur's business strategist and attorney. Right? I help you not only start and structure and grow your businesses, I help you protect your profit, your brand, and your business through contracts, copyrights, and trademarks. If you don't own a trademark, you don't own your business. But that's beside the point. Everyone, look at that. That's beside the point. What the real point here today is, how do we avoid strongholds as we transition in life and in business? I have a special guest with me today, Coach Tyronda. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you even got to this point.
Well, I am Coach Tyronda Curry Hurst, and so I am a veteran, a farmer, a coach, all of those things. And so what brought me here today is so the book that I wrote on Strongholds is what brought me here today to discuss how those strongholds that we can face in life can, sometimes hold us back in our business, in life. And we're going to discuss some of that today.
So, Coach Tyronda, Coach Ty, y'all, I'm not about to be formal up in here with y'all. You know we family. So, Coach Ty, you said like, strongholds. It's a book. No. This thing is bigger than that. I have my copy here. It talks about it being the hiding place of the enemy. So any place
Mhm.
that the enemy is, we want to make sure that we get him out. So we don't want him hiding in our life. We don't want him hiding in our business. We want him gone. So can you just even tell us, what do you define as a stronghold?
So strongholds are mindsets
Mm,
that fuel destructive behaviors. And a lot of times, people think of strongholds as like addictions and things that have a strong hold on people. And I guess, that terminology could be true, but that's not what I'm talking about in the book. It's more so the mindset that leads people to um, those types of behaviors. So if a person is thinking, you know, things like, if I'm lonely, I have to do A, B, and C. That's a thought pattern that will lead a person to self destructive behaviors like an addiction. So it's not necessarily the addiction that's the stronghold, but the thought pattern that is the stronghold. So that's what I'm talking about in the book.
No, that's really good, because what you really just outlined for us is like sometimes we look at the symptom and not the root. And so this book, Strongholds, Hiding Places of the Enemy, is about dealing with the root. Like it shows up as an addiction, but it starts with a thought pattern. And so if we can get
Mhm.
through the thought pattern, then we can break the addiction. And I just want to come down
Right.
this street in this area, because sometimes we think the addiction is just drugs. We think the
Mhm.
addiction is porn. We think the addiction is X, Y, and Z. But can you talk to us, share about some addictions that we may be overlooking in our own lives?
Hmm. I want to say this.
Say it.
Sometimes we may have things that are strongholds that we look at as good things, but we're not really looking at them right. Like how we think of being Miss Independent or Mr. Independent, and we think that that's a great thing or whatever. And in some cases it is, but taking on all of these things on our own may not be, in fact what we think it is. It just depends on really what your mentality is when you're going at these things, because sometimes you know you could have a mindset that's telling you, you have to do these things because you are your own God in your mind. You are trying to do
Mm.
everything in your own power, and you don't need anybody else. You don't want any other help. You got it all. You don't even want to turn to the Lord and ask for help sometimes, and that's not the right mentality to have. And it's those thought patterns that we need to deal with, really. And
Mm.
another thing about it also is that I know you didn't ask me this, but I just wanted to make sure that I brought this up today. And speaking about strongholds, is that you know, we think that it's this big, strange, and mysterious topic when we talk about strongholds. And people say, well, about generational curses and all of these types of things. But, when you can get bad information from good people, like people who have good intentions for you, can sometimes tell you things because that's what they were taught. So when we say things like generational curses, it's not this, hoogity boogity type of situation sometimes. Like I heard this saying that a person said recently, the only way to get over uh, a
Mm-hmm.
woman is to get under another one or something like that. If you have a man telling his son this, and they're telling their son that, you know what I'm saying, it's passing on this information to the next generation and to the next generation. Don't you think that that's a generational curse? It's not this, a woman stirring a pot type of witchcraft type thing. It's being passed on to the next generation. It's a mental thing. It's a mindset that's being transferred on to the next generation. And the only way for you to break those mindsets is with your words, to reteach, the children and whoever is saying these things a different way to think about things. And I mean, it's the same way with people saying, well, isn't it better to have a half a man than to have no man at all? If you're
Listen,
telling your
you gonna
daughter
stop
this,
going down people's streets, Coach Ty. You gonna stop going down their
I'm
streets
I'm I'm
because
saying these
they
things that people
love
are
these
telling me.
strongholds.
If
They
people are
love these
telling me
strongholds.
these things and asking me these questions, you know what I'm saying? But so if if your mother is the person that's telling you this, and so you're staying in a relationship that's unhealthy because these are the things that a person that loves you is telling you. So if your mother is telling you this, the person that raised you and birthed you, you know, wouldn't you think that you should be able to trust this information if it's coming to you from a source
Mm,
that you have been able to trust your whole life? This is where you have been getting your information from. So you feel like you should be able to trust that information. You don't know anything else. So,
no,
then you're
I think
passing
that's
it on.
strong. I think that's strong. And what I'm hearing you say right now is, and the word, the Bible verse that comes up right now is, put your trust not in no man. And so the problem that's creating the strongholds or growing the strongholds and allowing them to really resonate is the fact that we are putting our trust in men, in their words, in what it is that they've experienced, and allowing them to be our wisdom, our counsel. Yes, we should seek counsel, but what I'm hearing you say is, we now, because the enemy is so tricky, he's taking our quote unquote trustworthy spaces and now allowing the trustworthy space to be a breeding ground for strongholds. And
Mhm.
so you are encountering a lot of that in your coaching business. How is it that what's the first thing that you kind of walk people through when you are kind of helping them to disconnect from allowing a somewhat trustworthy person or trustworthy voice to show up as their God?
See, on that one is very difficult
Mm-hmm.
when you're starting with, especially someone like a mother or a close relationship. But the thing about that is you have to first start with the idea, and the truth of the matter is that anybody can be wrong. That's just something that we have to accept and own. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard for some people to accept the fact that their mother can be wrong about something.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to break through that for some people, that their mother can be wrong about something. But you just have to get to that place, you know.
Yeah, no, you were
But
you
it's
were
just a
bringing up
fact.
something so key, because to someone else it's their mom, to another person it's their pastor, to another person it could be their professor. And so any place where we have put someone else's voice above the voice of God, we've created a breeding ground for strongholds. Wow, wow, wow.
You got it.
That's really deep. And so, as we are going through life, you just made me reflect on ways where I probably had created so many breeding grounds for strongholds. And I think at some point in my life, I really leaned into the word of my friends. And I think God started allowing their words to kind of blow up my life in a way that I didn't want to happen. And so it made me like, oh no, I need to go with the voice that I hear down on the inside rather than the voices on the outside, because it's
Mhm.
creating a world in a life that I don't even like. But, and we're going to go down here because one of the reasons why there's an over dependence on the word of another is because you're not trusting yourself and trusting God. And so, how have you learned to trust yourself and to trust God?
So, man, you said a word when you said all of that. But you know what? You hit it right on the head. And the main thing about that is relationship. Relationship is the only way. So my whole thing is, I feel like that's the number one thing, is that you have to start focusing, number one, on your relationship with the Lord. And my number one thing with that is to create good habits, like from the moment when you wake up in the morning. So my number one thing is, a lot of people go for their phone as soon as they wake up. And I can understand that if your phone is the way you wake up, because like I set an alarm with my phone. But if that is your way you wake up, okay, turn off the alarm, and then that's it. Don't immediately start scrolling, because I know what that is like at some point in my life. Maybe that was what it was, but you have to make a decision at some point. So what I did like a long time ago was to make a decision that the first person that I'm going to talk to in the day is my father. That's it, period. So when the stop on that alarm goes off, get up and go to your place, and let that be the first conversation that you have every day. Make that a habit. So if you start off forming good habits to make a priority out of your relationship with the Lord, then you can start to begin to hear the Lord's voice clearer and clearer. Then you can start to say, okay, my next thing will be to make a priority out of reading every day, to make a priority out of fasting a certain, a certain amount of times a week or whatever, however you're going to do it. But the point being is to make my relationship with my father number one in my life. And then that will it will come more and more and more, like building resilience. It will be a thing because that's the only way it will happen. Doing it is the only way it will happen.
That's so good. And so you just gave us one key to avoid strongholds as we're just going through life and business. And one, you Loki gave two. The first one is we have to deal with relationships. But it's like part A and part B to relationships. The first thing you said is build a habit with your father. And when you build the habit with your father and you learn to hear and discern his voice and his speech and his ways and his thoughts more, then you will start to see a ripple effect around all the other pieces of your life. And once you have that relationship stronger with your father, that starts to transition the relationships that you have around you and starts to shift your voice, not necessarily your voice, but your hearing of other voices as a guide for your life. So, man,
Mhm.
that piece, and making the decision is one thing, but committing to not doing or committing to the shift is another thing. And so you are a veteran, so you are by default way more disciplined than everybody else. Let's just say that, right? And so for those of us who may be working on our discipline, how do we go about leaning into creating better habits so that we can build a better relationship with our father?
You said, how do you go about it?
Yeah, because you got the discipline down, vet.
No. So like that's what one example that I was saying about like make it a habit about like when you get up in the morning, or like just I would say do it at a certain time in the day so that that'll be like a clue in for you. Like maybe if you make it out at lunchtime or something that'll be, something that'll clue you into it, because then that way you will think about it. You know, if it's something that will make you personally think about it. So if it'll have to be something that's specific to you though. So whatever that will be for you personally. Like if you do something in particular at a certain time in the day, then you can tie it into that. Okay, at this time when I normally do this, I'll pray. Or at this time when I normally do this, I'll stop for a certain amount of time and I'll read, at this time. Or I'll say some affirmations or, whatever. Because then that way, you already doing that one thing. So then that'll clue you into I'll do that. So it's not like something extra that you have to remember, because that'll make it, you know, a little bit harder for you to remember. That helps me anyway, because I have a hard time remembering stuff.
No, I'm pretty sure it's helping the audience too, because it's one of those things where your memory and what you do produce the ability to be able to actually build a new habit. And sometimes we think
Right.
about adding things and stopping things as a habit, but there was a time in my life where I recognized that, Jamila, the moment you fall off of the habit, you start to build the habit in the opposite direction. And so you have to be mindful of the number of days that you're falling off of a thing. And so if you are trying to build that relationship with your father and make it better, how can you integrate it into some other moment in your life? And so as you're saying this, I this week have started to, like, when I drive off, I turn on my music. I pray in the house or something. But now when I get in the car, I'm praying for a moment of time in the car. And I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
like deeper experiences in the presence of God because of the way that I've shifted to adding that additional prayer
Mm-hmm.
time. Because
Yeah.
if we're going to continue avoiding strongholds, it's going to be about that relationship. And part of that relationship is communion with our Father. And so if
Mhm.
we are not constantly communing with our Father, then how are we even going to get to the place and space to break the stronghold? And
That's
so,
good.
Coach Todd,
Mhm.
tell me
I like
about a
that.
time where you recognized a stronghold in your life and how you kind of walked yourself out of it.
Okay, I got one. It was when I was writing this book. So, first of all, when I was writing this book, I didn't even realize I was writing the book. I was just studying and making notes, and like, that's what it was for me at first. I was just like doing a lot of studying. I had my concordance. I was just, typing, making a whole lot of notes and everything. And it was just like after a whole lot of writing or whatever, at some point, that's when I realized what was going on. And I'm like, and that's when I got scared, because like for the longest time that this was going on, I thought nothing of it. I'm just like so into it, because I'm like just feeding and feeding. I couldn't stop because I'm just like so into it. I wasn't thinking nothing about it. But when I realized what was happening, that's when I got scared. And I'm like, I ain't no writer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not an author. Like, who would read a book that you know what I'm saying? Who am I to be writing a book? Like, all of these thoughts coming. And it was just like going, I'm like, like, why would I be writing a book? You know what I'm saying? Like, all of this stuff coming all of a sudden. Now, before, when I wasn't thinking nothing about it, it was no problem. So then I'm like, okay. So I prayed about it, and I'm praying about it then, and of course I'm still writing and everything, but when I'm praying about it, I'm like, you know what, I prayed before now when I didn't realize what I was doing, and I'm always praying, Lord, I'm your vessel. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. All this time I've been praying this prayer. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And any other time, I'm always doing whatever I feel like the Lord want me to do. I'm doing it with no question. But this thing scared me, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, so when I realized what was happening, I was like, how dare I to do something like that, to be pulling back when this is the thing that I want you to do. But now that I'm saying, do this, you got a hesitancy about what it is that I'm telling you that I want you to do. So then I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? When I realized that, I'm like, you know what? Okay, how dare I to do that? Let me just, so now I see where those voices were coming from. So I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? Let me get myself together. So
Yeah.
then I had to get all of those scriptures to combat that and put that in order, because now I'm like, oh no, never. I'm going full force against it now. So when all the thoughts start coming, then it changed to, well, you know, it then it's never good enough. It's never good enough. It's never good enough.
Mm.
So that's why I had to break it down into, let me just put part one out, and then I'll go back and put a part two out later, because I would have never put that part one out, because it never would have been good enough. Because I would have been listening to, oh no, I can't. It'll never be. I ain't finished yet. I ain't finished yet. I would have still been writing that book now. So you know what? I was in that class, with Pastor Daniels and everything, and he was like, you ain't gotta write no fifth chapter book. Do what you're gonna do and get the book out. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what, Lord, thank you for that. Let me get this book out and stop, because this ain't about me, and everything got to be perfection, because I'll be doing this from now on. So that's what I did. I'm like, I hear you, Lord. Let me
You
get this
really
book out.
you really just brought out two strongholds that I don't think people may think are strongholds. And so and they both are rooted in fear. And so we have to be mindful of when fearful thoughts creep up into our psyche. And now we're making decisions based off the fear rather than having our
Mm-hmm.
faith forward. And so when we think that we are an imposter and not who God told us we are, we're in the stronghold world. When we think that something has to look a certain way in order for it to be produced, then we are in the stronghold world. I think culture, wow, culture teaches us to have strongholds because if you're thinking through this, who tells you things have to be perfect? You learn that through the environment. When excellence should be your striving, and excellence is subjective depending upon who you are and what it is you're called to accomplish in that season. And so, as you're kind of breaking this down for us, we really, really, really have if no one takes anything else away from this episode today, you have to walk away understanding the ramifications of thinking. Oh my God. Because the impact of your thoughts literally determine the world that you live in. It determines what you can do. It determines what you can't do. It determines the God you serve. If you don't like your life, you don't like your thinking.
And if you want to change your life, change your thinking.
That part. Man, man. So folks probably, including me, we probably need to go on a thinking audit, right? Because we talked about how strongholds have shown up in us doing the things that God has called us to do and us relating with people closer to us. But if we don't get these strongholds together, it could be a repellent to our destiny relationships. Have
Mm-hmm.
you dealt with anything where you had a stronghold that might have been stifling some of the destiny relationships you were supposed to be building?
Hmm. Um,
I'm causing you to think deep, huh?
I don't. I know. Uh, I'm trying to think about that.
Yeah, because
I
let me
don't
tell you
know.
why.
Not that I can think of right off. I mean,
So the thing that's making me think about that is if you have a fear-based mindset or you have a certain way that you think about people, you may not be connecting with people in the way that you should and in the way that you could because of your stronghold in your thinking. And so if you go into a room of strangers and you don't talk to people, it's probably a stronghold. And if you were sent to that room, there's probably somebody you're supposed to be connecting with, and you may not be connecting with them because of your thinking.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, right. Like at one point that may have been true, but like now, no. Um, and you know what? Like I know I have grown and come a long way, and the Lord has done a lot for me. And I can say that I know for a fact that that is true because like being in your business group that we had, that Lord, you need to put that link up here because it was great for getting people started off in business that I mean that are just getting started. When you need to learn about business and getting out there and everything, it's priceless. I mean, and then getting started in business also, you need a community. Because we think that we want to be independent and doing all of this stuff by yourself, but in business, that's just not the way to go. It's just really not, especially when you just getting started and it's your first time doing it. There's a lot of things that you are gonna need to learn, and doing it by yourself, yes, it's possible to do it by yourself, but why would you want to? I mean, if you want to go farther faster, you need a community and a group. And the reason that I'm saying that the group helped me is because I'm Black, of course, but me, the mindset that I used to have, I'm just gonna be honest about this, and it might not make me look the best, but me and dealing with Black females, I really just didn't have the best thoughts about that, previously in my past life, I guess. I just, the rah rah and that type of thought that I had about that just wasn't the best look. So I really just wasn't here for it. And, so I might have been the standoffish one and not really, I'm cordial and all of that kind of stuff, but I'll just, okay. But being in the group and in the community and everything, I mean, it just opened me up. I'm so full of love anyway, but now I can just see everybody for who they are. And I'm telling you, like all of those women in there, I love, 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 love. We all family. And it was just so beautiful. Like, I mean, to be non-competitive, and just only want the best for each other in business, in life, to have people who just genuinely want to see you, you know, thrive and want to help you in every way. It's just nothing like it. And you need that in business. I mean, you need it in life anyway, but you need it in business when you just getting out here and getting started. You don't know how to set up a website. You don't know. It's hard when you getting started in business and you haven't been used to getting out here making these videos. I mean, I guess some people are because they always on social media and going live and doing all this stuff or whatever. But people like me, I was not, me. I wasn't that person that's going live and doing all this stuff on social media. I was barely even on Facebook. I mean, let's be for real. But I mean, like when it's a person like that that's not used to doing these kind of things, you need people that will help you. And then even if you are on social media, it's very different when you're doing it for business. And you need people that will tell you, don't go on here with your personal business when you're trying to do business. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You need some people who will actually tell you, separate your business and your personal, things so that you look professional online. You need people who are, you know what I'm saying, who are for you, who want you looking your best online, who won't have you out here looking like a fool online. Because
You
some
dropping
people are
more
out here looking
keys.
crazy.
You dropping more
Some
keys.
people
So
are
I
looking
gotta pause
crazy
you
out here
again.
online
No,
and
I
don't
gotta pause you,
realize
Coach
it.
Shy. Let me tell you why I gotta pause you. Because I don't want us to skip over the keys that you are dropping around these hidden strongholds in our lives and how we can avoid them. And so, if you don't deal with your past experiences, it will create a mindset that will keep you from the community you're supposed to have. So that's one key. And then the other key is you have to continuously expose yourself to know when you have outgrown a past mindset, because a past
Mm-hmm.
mindset may not have been a stronghold in a past season, but in this new season,
Mm-hmm.
in this new era, in this new realm, it is now showing up as a stronghold because you're supposed to operate differently. Like, I couldn't let
Right.
us, you know, move past that. And, I have my own experiences as a Black female attorney, and being supported by other Black female attorneys is rare, right? And it shouldn't be rare when we make up 2% of that population. And so, and I said to myself one day, I said, it's amazing that I keep giving women a try, because they do some things that are, somebody say low down and dirty, right? They do some low down and dirty stuff. But when you are not operating in your strongholds, because you're operating in liberation, you cannot walk and live in offense. Someone can offend you, you get the knowledge and you do something with the knowledge, but you can't hold their feet to the fire and then start to, chop everyone else down that comes your way because of an experience of one. And so, we gotta continuously shed off the past. Now, Coach Ty, I done had you on here for quite a bit. So I know you got the kids, you got the farm, you got your coaches, you got it all, and you were doing some juice and stuff at some point. What's one final thought that you have about strongholds and avoiding them as we transition in life and business?
Um, I just want to, I just want everybody to know that we all deal with the same types of things. Like, don't feel like, you are some kind of oddball because you have these thoughts. Because everybody's dealing with the same types of struggles. It doesn't matter, like, if, what level of education you have, what job you have, or whatever. We all out here dealing with the same struggles. So, I mean, you know, and problems come and they go. Just know that nothing lasts forever, because that is another thing about strongholds, that sometimes it'll seem like it wants you to feel like a temporary situation is permanent, but that's not the case. Nothing lasts forever. So, you know we can make it through anything if you are looking to Christ, where our help comes from. So, I mean, just know that, don't rely on yourself for your strength. Look to the one where our strength comes from, and um, go get the book, so that when you start having these thoughts of who you're not, you can start to develop a mindset so that you can say, let me show you who I am.
Well, y'all, you heard it here. Strongholds are the hiding places of the enemy. And some of the strongholds we've been able to identify, they creep in through fear and show up as imposter syndrome, show up as perfectionism, show up as not letting go of the past and holding people's feet to the fire, not having a fluid and continuous relationship with God. And if some of you all have understood that you've held yourself back and had a mindset around what you could and could not do from an entrepreneurial standpoint, Coach Ty also shared that my Start Your Business from Scratch program is amazing and you don't want to miss it, right? And so if you know you're ready to take that leap into entrepreneurship, head over to imandmore.com and set up a free discovery call so that we can get you started. And for some of you all that are like, I've been out here riding dirty in my business, meaning I don't have any personalized contracts in place. I don't have any trademarks in place. I don't even own my business. Somebody can come steal it from me. I don't have any copyrights in place. Then you also want to make sure you go to imandmore.com for a free discovery call for us to figure out what's the actual plan that you need to take the stronghold off your business. And I think I said a lot there. So, y'all, take care, be more, do more as you journey to more. See you soon.